Welcome to the LayerWP podcast, where Ben Townsend peels back the layers of the people and products of the WordPress community. Every episode is a conversation with an interesting WordPresser. We have fun, we keep it real, and we look through the layers that make us who we are.
I don't usually do this sort of stuff.
Just kind of fun conversation, that's all.
Okay, right. Welcome to LayerWP, and today's guest is Michelle. So over to Michelle. Yeah, you go. Get you to talk about yourself. Okay, what's full name? What you do? That sort of stuff, really.
Okay, yep. I'm Michelle Frechette, and my full-time job is I am the Director of Engagement, Community Engagement. I don't even know my own title today. Director of Community Engagement for StellarWP at Liquid Web,
Okay.
where I get to work with some of the, I think, the best brands in WordPress, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
And then I do a whole bunch of other stuff too.
You said about big brands, and this is true because I don't know if anybody else knows some of the products that Stellar obviously do, but for those that uninitiated, I suppose, obviously we're talking Cadence blocks, Cadence theme, sorry, we're talking Give WP, and a whole host of other ones.
LearnDash, Restrict Content Pro, the events calendar, Iconic WP, Orderable, WP Business Reviews, and Solid WP. I think I got them all.
That's quite that's quite a few products. So, your job, forgive me for asking, do you work specifically on a segment of products or a selection, or is it just across the board? Absolutely everything.
Yeah, so for me, it's across the board. So I'm not sitting within one of the products. I manage kind of our community engagement. So I do a lot of WordCamps, a lot of online talks. I submit press releases and do a lot of the PR that goes along with our different brands. So, when we acquire a new product or develop something really cool, I'll try to get some of our developers and some of our principals over onto different podcasts and make sure that we get mentioned in some newsletters and so all of those kinds of things. And then I also just, community engagement, engage with the community. I know it's such a cop out to just say that, but I do a lot with with our Twitter account for StellarWP. It's funny when I first took over the Twitter account, gosh, over 2 years ago now. And I was just kind of engaging with the community that way and asking questions and doing that. I had Topher DeRoja reached out to me. He goes, "Are you running the StellarWP Twitter account?" I said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, why?" He goes, "Because it sounds like your voice." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool, actually, that like people could be like, hey, I think that's Michelle doing that kind of thing." So,
Yeah.
just kind of having fun without being offensive. That's that's my goal
Yeah.
with our
Yeah.
brands is having fun without being offensive. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
and
That,
everybody thinks I'm Little Mary Sunshine a lot of the time, but man, I can drop an F-bomb like the best of them.
I know you can. I think we've established that in private conversations. Yeah. That was refreshing. Didn't expect that.
Oh, yeah.
You've got company and you're on the bottom left. Is that a kitten?
It's one of my cats. Yeah, she's
Oh,
actually an old girl. She's about 12 now.
all right.
That's Stella. And
Oh,
I've been testing different chairs, and so there's a different. I don't know if this is going to move her in or out of. I
oh no,
can.
that's fine. No.
Um, the I've been testing different chairs, so there's another desk chair next to me, and she has claimed it. Unfortunately, it's a cloth chair, and I have to go over it with a lint roller at least 3 times a day
Yeah, yeah.
because it's spring and she is shedding everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, it's it's a bit messy to say the least.
A
Know that
little,
with a
yeah, for sure.
with a dog that we've got, he does molt, and it's just hairball city everywhere,
Yeah,
which is a
exactly.
pain.
It
Um,
sure is.
Going back to what you do
Uh-huh.
in your day job, well, your job, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's got to be super difficult to cover so many different products, and you've got so many people that you have to engage with. So you've got to be, I would hazard a guess, you've got to be extremely knowledgeable about each and every single product. Would that be fair to say? Or
No, I don't have to be. I use our products and I have a base level knowledge. I'm not a developer, so
Mm,
but I get read into what I need to be read into. I do not manage all of our Twitter accounts. I do not manage, excuse me, everything that you see publicly is it's a huge marketing team. And
mm,
so I am more the person who's just meeting people and talking to people and working some of those PR angles because I'm pretty well connected in WordPress. And
yeah.
so instead of just having to fill out a form somewhere to say, hey, we exist and would you think about including us in your next newsletter?
Mm,
Which I do, don't get me wrong. Like I go through all the proper channels, but I also know the people behind them and they know me. And so I can tap them and say, hey, you know, there's no pressure, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware this is happening and this might be something that you'd want to cover in your newsletter, or have some a guest on your podcast, that kind of thing.
mm,
And so it works really well. I consider myself kind of like the backup for all of our different social channels, right? So we have people working, we have, marketing teams on every one of our projects. And so
mm,
to somebody's running those Twitter accounts, right? So it doesn't have to be me, but I help, right? So, for example, this week, I don't know when this is going to air, but this week when we're recording, we're just finishing up a week of a meme contest on Solid WP. It started with World Password Day. And so we gave it a week and we've asked people to do a meme. And there's a whole slew of like rules you have to follow as far as how you tag us and
mm,
what has to be in the image, that kind of stuff. Well, I like to prime the pump, right? Like if nobody primes the pump, nobody's going to create memes. So,
yeah.
and I have just the most dumb dad joke kind of sense of humor out there. And so making stupid memes and writing silly poems, like that's my thing, right? Like
Yeah.
that's who I am. And they make people at least chuckle if not actually laugh, right? And
Mm,
so but it also got people like seeing them. And so other people that are creating memes. Now I can't win the contest because I work here.
yeah.
And like I manage a lot of other Twitter accounts that aren't part of the Stellar brand. And so
Mm,
I was like creating them from all those different brands to create engagement. Because it was fun, with the caveat that this one can't win, but I want to play too because
yeah.
I got some ideas, right?
Well,
So,
yeah. That's to be honest with you, I think if you enjoy something, it shines through, doesn't it? You
yeah,
can
for
tell.
sure.
If somebody's interested in something and having
Yeah.
fun along the way,
So, can
everybody
I
else
share
joins in.
today's? Because
Mm,
today's I thought was really, I made myself laugh with how good today's was. And it's so stupid, but it's a picture of a cracked egg. And it
mm.
says Humpty Dumpty had a website. Humpty Dumpty had a great fright. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't recover his password again. Just like dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
But you laughed, I
Yeah.
laughed, and I
Yeah.
just like I went to bed like giggling a little bit because I was just so stupid, but it was funny. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's me.
I think a sense of humor is key. This is one of the things I
Yeah.
think. I mean, obviously, I speak to you outside of this, f bombs included,
Yes, of
and
course.
and there's a few other people I speak to as well. And the general consensus, I think, is that you need to have fun with it.
Hmm.
You need to have an element of laughter because Twitter, it's just one channel I know, but it can be very straight laced sometimes, and it's just nice to bring a bit of humor with a
Hmm.
bit of banter or something like that into the day because you're scrolling through and you're looking at stuff and thinking, well, I need an idea for a blog post or something like that, and it's oh god, this is boring, 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 and then stuff like what you're doing with the memes and that. Well, I used to call them memes, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
so did I.
yeah, yeah,
Back in the day.
yeah, that was embarrassing. Getting corrected by your kids. Well, I do think a sense of humour is key because if you can have a laugh with it, it will, like I said earlier, it will show in everything you do.
Yeah.
So I think I'd like to see more fun blog posts as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, something that because it's all well and good creating engagement with memes or memes, but I mean, if you can write in a way that's fun,
Yeah.
you're talking like I'm talking to you now, is
Hmm.
how I would like to read a blog post. It's like it's
Right.
personal.
So,
I like that approach. I think that's a
yeah.
good one.
So I've written some guest posts
Mm.
for different brands, and so you and I both know Mark Westgard. He's
Yeah.
one of my absolute best friends, and I wrote a blog post for him. Oh gosh, it might even have been 2 years ago now, but sometime in the last year, year and a half. I'm gonna guess, who knows, about like using forms to create Mad Libs. Remember Mad Libs where you'd be like, tell me a noun, tell me an adjective, and then like you'd read the story afterwards, and the person would like chuckle about how silly what their
Yeah.
words. So like I turned a form on his website into a Mad Lib. You answer the questions, and then the result is the story with your silly little words in it. So, like, that was fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is because, I mean, forms aren't sexy. Forms are not fun, right? But they can be. That's the whole idea,
Yeah.
is like software is, I mean, yes, if you're a nerd, software is fun, but like,
Mm.
generally speaking, it's the means to an end, right? So, we sell software so that you can accomplish something in the world that really has nothing to do with software, usually.
Yeah.
But if you can make software fun and
Mm.
engaging, and if you can, maybe it's never going to be sexy, but make it like fun and engaging, then people will be like, that brand has a voice, that brand has a sense of humor, that brand has a personality, right? And
Mm.
so if you can bring some of that into it and make it fun to read a blog post,
Yeah.
then, why not? I wrote a post for Century Hosting not too long ago about the fact that hosting isn't sexy. Like hosting is boring, but it's so important. And knowing, how well your site is being cared for is super important as well. But is it sexy? No, not even in the least, right?
I
Like,
know. Yeah.
it's like the bane of my existence. Like, how do I even make an email account on that, right? Like, I am constantly, regardless of where I'm hosting, I'm like hitting up that little chat bot to go, how do I make an email on here? Like, where is the DNS on this system so I can reset it? And like all of those things, right? So it's usually a source of frustration, but once
Mm.
you get it right, it is exactly what you need. It's like the motor in the Cadillac, right? The
Mm.
Cadillac can be beat to shit on the outside, right? But if the engine is still moving, the everything else works. The body doesn't matter because you're still moving and straight
Yeah.
forward. So you have this. Hopefully your website doesn't look beat to heck, but you've got a really great website. Get a good host underneath it too, so that
Yeah.
thing can hum, right? That's the whole idea. So, yeah. So
It's
I
kind of,
write I write funny things because it's fun.
this is the thing. Like, we've already covered it, but I mean, I do think having a giggle it
Hmm.
brings a bit of personality to things, and it makes things interesting because it is super hard. I've written guest posts for people in the past, and it's difficult even when you know the product inside and out. You're like, well, okay, they've given me a brief that I've got to write, so an outline, and you start writing it, and you think, oh God, this is shit. This is so boring. This is just written for search engines. It's not to, So I did a different version. So I did two. I only got paid for one, but I didn't really care. But they chose the jokier one because it was different, and
Yeah.
it was a bit of fun just to see
Hmm.
what would happen, and it did work. So I wrote a few more for them as well, actually. But I do find writing can be one of those things. It's unless you're feeling it, it's like flogging a dead horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got to be on it and interested, and you want it to work. Otherwise, it's just I've sat there and written 800 words, and I'm just looking at it. I'll go and make myself coffee, come back, look at it, and I'm thinking, well, this is crap.
I was like, if I don't want to read it, why would somebody else want to read it?
Exactly
Even
right.
if I wrote it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there are those times when you just like that writer's block. Like, ultimately what you want to say, but to come up with 500 words
Mm.
to get that point across when you think, I can write a paragraph and say the same thing. But now I've got to actually like make SEO and it's got to make more sense. And yes, there are gaps that my brain will fill in that other people's won't. And like all of those kinds of things to actually build out a post that will be at least informative, if not interesting and entertaining, right? So like there are all those different elements that go into it for sure. When you write, do you create an outline first? Because I never do, and sometimes I wonder if that would
No.
help make it easier.
No.
No, yeah,
No.
same.
I just start. I'll delete it probably about 30 times. But I don't like when I use Google Docs sometimes and I write in that. But I ditch Grammarly. I just use AI now. So I say, look, check this document for it's done in US English. check it for any errors, grammatical mistakes, that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And then it spits it out, and I'm like, great, this is brilliant, nice one. Stick it in a blog. I always like to see it actually on the website itself, because I think
Hmm.
if you see it in situ, then you kind of, with your logo on it and all that sort of stuff, and you're looking at it
Hmm.
and you're thinking, okay, I could add this here. But sometimes in a Google Doc, you just like, because the interface it's not your website, and sometimes
Hmm.
when you, I know it sounds stupid, but when
No,
it
not at all.
when it's on your website as a preview, I think sometimes that helps. I should put a GIF there. I should put this here. I should bold that. I should put that as a quote. And those sort of things get lost on Google Docs because it's never going to look exactly the same. So that's what I
Hmm.
like to do personally,
Yeah.
and it
Yep.
does help. It does help,
Yeah,
that sort of stuff.
for sure. I used to like, so with the dawning of the internet, right? Like I'm a little older than most people are in WordPress, especially. And so I've been around WordPress since 2011, so 13 years. Um, which feels like a newbie still because there are some people who've been there since day one and we're like 21 years into WordPress now.
Yeah,
But still 13 years, pretty good run so far, right?
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I forgot where I was going with this. Hold on. It'll come back.
I do exactly the same.
Senior moment.
I do exactly the same.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so creating, I know I was gonna go with this. So like the first time I ever hit publish on anything, it was like I quickly switched over to the public view to see that what I had just created,
Mm,
anybody in the world, obviously with caveats, like there are parts of the world that don't have internet, we get that,
yeah,
right? But
yeah,
like anybody with the internet could be like, look at that. She wrote that and it's sitting right there. Now the reality was like nobody heard of it, nobody knew about it. Like there was literally nothing, right? Like it was just sitting there. But the idea, the headiness of I can create something that anybody in the world could access
yeah.
was pretty like impressive to me, right? And then
Mm,
I'll tell you honestly, I don't remember what the article was, but the first article that I published on GiveWP when I first started working at GiveWP in 2018, like I hit publish on it, or I wrote it, they hit publish on it, whatever. And then I was like, I would send every post I ever wrote, like to my mom, like when I was married to my husband, like to my daughter, like, look, I like now they're like, stop sending me this shit, Michelle. Yes, you write, yes, you do stuff. We don't care, kind of thing, you know. But I still haven't lost that excitement of
yeah,
I created, I wrote, I put words together in a way that makes sense.
mm,
And hopefully somebody somewhere reads that and gains something from it, whether it's
yeah.
just a laugh or it's good information and it helps them move their business forward, whatever it is.
I do
And so
think
I still get excited about it.
I
I
do
published things yesterday and I'm like, cool.
I do think from you say you're not a developer, and I certainly am not either. I couldn't code for toffee. I understand the principles, but I do think that with yourself, and I think I'm very much the same. Is sometimes you can spot things that developers don't really realize. It's not so much flaws or bugs, but it'll be like nice to haves. Well, why can't you do
Mhm.
this? Why can't you put that there? And then you speak to people, developers about it, and they're like, shit, that's a good idea, actually. Oh, didn't think of that. But because you're a user who
Yeah.
uses so many different products and knows so many different products, you can sometimes say, well, I know they do this with this plugin, and I really like that feature. You could probably do this as well, and then elaborate on top of that. But I think
Hmm.
sometimes, from a developer's point of view, and I forgive me, developers, you can be a single track focus. You want to get something built. You've got your roadmap. You're going to stick to it. But I think other people of an outside view can sometimes help, and it helps with writing as well. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll probably agree. I mean, there's probably been times where you've spot stuff and probably told people in the team or developers,
Hmm.
and things get changed. But that's only because
Yep.
of you. You're a user, so
So I'll tell you something funny though is again this was in my GiveWP and I still work with GiveWP, don't get me wrong, but I'm not the customer success person at GiveWP anymore. But when I was working at GiveWP before we were acquired by Liquid Web, I had this idea that we could use our tributes function on GiveWP to create paid not gift cards, paid postcards. So you remember
Okay.
like back in the old days, you could send an e-postcard to people, right?
Hmm.
The idea would be that like for a $5 donation or whatever that you chose, you could choose from a bunch of different postcards and
Hmm.
it would go to that person and they would get this postcard delivered.
Yeah.
And so I worked out how to do it. It didn't require any coding at all because all of the function was already there. And so I went to our developers and then and I said, look what you can do. I kind of IKEA hacked the like, don't use the word hack in web. Okay.
Yeah.
I IKEA rigged together using our tributes function to create a page of postcards where you could just send somebody. For a while, Big Orange Heart, we had them there. Like you could actually send somebody an inspirational postcard, like I know you're going through a hard time, or
Mm.
like, hey, I'm thinking of you, like whatever it was, right? And other businesses, because there's a post on it now on givewp.com how to do this with the tributes function
Mm.
to create these. Another one was to take it and turn it into a virtual snowball fight, right? So we had the actual ice bucket challenge, right? Where like
Yeah.
people were doing that. So, but you could throw a fake snowball at somebody by using the tributes function. And then the image was like the snowball flying through the air and you've been hit. It's your turn. Who are you going to hit with a snowball next? Kind of thing, and do this virtual snowball fight. So I found ways to use our own product that
Mm.
they hadn't thought about for purposes that they hadn't necessarily intended. And they were like, how did we not see that? That is so cool, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, maybe they weren't as excited as I was, but
Mm.
still, it was kind of neat, right? The idea that you could do this without having to do any code at all.
Mm.
And so, yeah, sometimes they can build something for its intended purpose, and then you say, oh, look, you can also do this with it. And the people that built it go, huh, I guess you can, right? So that was kind of cool too. So
Yeah.
along the same lines, but
Yeah.
instead of like,
Yeah.
it's not missing, it wasn't missing a feature. It was like, hey, you could also use it for this feature. And they were like,
Mm.
oh, look at that. You sure can. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool actually, because sometimes when you look at products, I mean, God, I've used so many now, it's terrifying. Some good, some not so good. Usually the bad ones were on a you know Envato based website.
With
I'm
no
not
support.
with those.
Like, hello, is this thing on? Yeah, then
Yeah,
nobody ever responds.
yeah, yeah, because that guy just got bought out by Shutterstock or something, didn't they? I don't know.
Guys, I heard that. Yeah, that's
I don't.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to pan out. Everybody's
Time will tell.
everybody's downloading their stuff now and getting their license keys ready. I can tell you that for
Yeah,
sure. Um, what I was going to say, I mean, obviously you work remotely. Is that correct?
I
So
do. Yeah, this is my home.
so it's very nice as well.
Thank you.
I have nothing. It's,
You need a poster or something in the background there,
yeah,
buddy.
I need something. Yeah. Just a picture
Paint
of
a
me.
mural.
Um,
Oh, your son's an artist. Get him to draw something
Well,
behind
yeah,
you on the wall.
no, I don't think I could put it on the wall because it'll terrify people. Well, this is bad enough, if you know what I mean. I was going to say, obviously, working from homes, working remotely can be, and I touched on this with Corey as well. How do you cope? Because obviously, it can be quite lonely. So I
Yeah.
just wonder if you have any coping mechanisms, or is there anything that you do to get through
Yeah.
the day?
It's a very lonely existence. I'm a single person with two
Mm.
cats, right? So if I don't reach out across social media to people or have Zoom calls and things like that,
Yeah.
it can feel very, very isolating. Absolutely. But texting with friends,
Mm.
DMing people, having occasional meetings, whether it's actually a meeting for a podcast or, meeting for a specific purpose or just like, hey, we haven't talked in a while. Let's just find time on the calendar.
Yeah.
So Graham from Century Hosting and we a couple times a year, I wish we did it more often, but you know how time is like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, it's been 3 months since we talked. But he'll just book on my calendar. We'll just shoot the breeze for an hour, at the end of his day and just have that time to just kind of be friends and talk to one another. And then on the weekends, I try to get out of the house because
Mm.
I'm also a disabled person. So if I need to get out of my car somewhere, I need somebody who can help me with my scooter. And so
Okay.
to be traveling by myself and those kinds of things is very frustrating to me.
Mm.
But I will go out in my car with my cameras, and I think I love nature and I love
Mm.
taking pictures. And it's funny to say I love nature because I actually never get out of my car. So all of the pictures that you see for the most part, of my nature photography. So whether it's an eagle in a nest or a turtle, in the grass, is almost always taken from the driver's seat of my car. So,
Oh
and I
wow.
don't think people know that. Yeah. So, I go into places where there are animals and I wait and I watch, and I've got some um, amazing subjects, right? So
Mm.
whether it's eagles or egrets or heron or painted turtles, swans, I can think of all the different kinds of animals I've photographed over the years, even tiny little insects. It's all been from the front seat of my car, with proper lenses and learning, because definitely at the beginning they were not as good as they are now, and I'm sure in 2 years they'll be better than they are today, which is the way that we work, right? We practice, we get better.
Like, is that some of your work in the background there?
It's all my work in the
It's
background,
all
yeah.
your work. Well,
Mhm.
you have been busy.
I mean, I've been doing it about 6 years. Well, no, probably like 7 years now. I bought my first camera about 7 years ago, and I just get out in nature and I try real hard. I'll share my Instagram with you later, so if anybody wants to see, they're welcome
Yeah.
to look at my Instagram
Yeah,
for
well,
sure.
I'll put some links down the bottom of the video when I
Yeah.
upload it to the Tubes of You. Um, yeah, I'll put a load of stuff in there as well. We'll have a chat offline about that anyway. What sort of
Yeah,
stuff you
sure.
want to go on there? So that's fine. That's not a problem.
But my Instagram is the same as my Twitter handle at Michelle Ames, if anybody is interested in looking.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll stick it at the bottom of the video as well. So
Yeah,
we'll add some bits and bobs in there.
sounds
But
good.
what I was going to say to you, so obviously you're working remotely, you keep yourself busy, you've got your
Mhm.
nature, that sort of stuff. Is there any other projects that you do on the side, whether it's web related or, I know you've mentioned Century a couple of times. I know you've
Yeah.
written for other people and that sort of stuff. I mean, is
I mean,
there?
I do have a few podcasts, right? So I have a bunch of my own podcasts I do.
Yeah,
Um, so I have a project called Underrepresented in Tech
yeah,
that is a database, and a database of underrepresented people. So if you as a podcaster are looking to increase the diversity and
mm,
inclusion on your podcast, and you want somebody who can speak about X, Y, or Z, you can
mm,
search that database and find somebody that you could invite on the show to talk about whatever it is that the topic is.
mm,
Um, but we also have a podcast with that. So Allie Nimmons and I founded that a few years back. Allie has retired from the project now, and Sama Nasser from Yoast is now my co-host and my
okay,
project partner. So
okay.
we have underrepresented in tech. WP Coffee Talk, which you were on several years ago,
Yes,
actually. It's been a
yes.
while.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Is my first podcast, and I actually haven't checked to see how many episodes I have on that. I'll have to look. But I think I'm closing in on 200 episodes there. And then Kathy Zant and I have WP Motivate,
Yeah.
and that's a fun. We just kind of shoot the breeze. Once a week, we try to come up with a topic that we talk around.
Mm,
And honestly, it's our therapy session, and people just get to listen in on our therapy sessions with one another because we are women supporting women, which is super awesome,
mm,
actually. What else? I have Audacity Marketing, which is a periodic podcast. We don't publish with any particular regularity with Hazel Kimpo and and so we talk about being audacious in marketing and some things that you can think about to kind of move the needle there.
mm,
And then at StellarWP, we have WP Constellations, where I get to speak to people both internally about our products, but then I also invite people from the outside to come in and talk about different things um, that they do in WordPress. So we just published
mm.
an episode this week with Lindsay Miller talking about outsourcing your marketing and your content to a third party.
Sure.
So yeah, so I get to do a lot of those kinds of things for sure. And then of course I am also at Post Status. So I am the executive director at Post Status, and I have a column that I write there, and I can write about anything any topic that I want to there, which is really nice. Kind of manage the community there, as well as um, I have a podcast with Corey Moss, who you mentioned a few minutes ago. We
Yeah.
have a live recording every Tuesday. Well, sometimes we have to miss, but on Tuesdays regularly at 5 p.m. New York time,
Mm,
we do a live marketing in public about the OMG IMG plugin. And then also I have lots of opportunities to do webinars and recordings and things like that within Post Status as well. So I think I covered all the bases, but I also speak at WordCamps and mentor WordCamps, and I'm on the photography team, and I just love WordPress. I love our community, and I have got so much from this community. I've been gifted so many things and
mm.
so many opportunities that I do my best to pay it forward as I go.
Wow, that's a list and a half.
It's
That
fun.
is.
We didn't even talk about WP speakers.
No, oh my god, yeah, WP speakers as well. I'll tell you what, this video links at the bottom of this video, it's going to read like War and Peace, isn't it? It's going to go on.
Sorry.
You'll have to expand, and it'll be on page
It's all in
two.
my bio. There's like links in the bio. It's all there. So I'll share that with you. I'll
Yeah,
slack
okay.
it. I'll slack it to you. I'll DM it to you,
So
whatever.
yeah. Please do, because I'm gonna have to cut and paste, and it's going to take me about 40 minutes to do that. Probably do that slower. Actually, yeah,
Well,
probably
I
do the
mean,
video, upload it quicker than I can do the description.
one of my proudest moments was when Matt Mullenweg from the stage at WordCamp US 2022
Hmm.
said that I was the busiest woman in WordPress. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's not wrong though.
I'm on his radar. That's all right. I'm okay with that.
You are incredibly busy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody else that works as hard on so
Oh,
many
there are.
different things.
No, there are for sure.
I think it's quite astounding, really, to be honest with you. I
Uh,
can sometimes just about get my bum out of bed to write one blog post. And then you just said
well,
all that, and I'm like,
if I was raising kids and if I had a spouse and all of these other things, I think that some of those would have, they would not all have happened. But I
yeah,
literally sit here by myself at night going, I could just sit and watch TV or I could create something
mm,
that helps other people, right? And so like during the pandemic is when WP career pages came about. Like I had all this vacation time. I had to take some vacation but I couldn't travel anywhere because it was lockdown. So I
mm,
took one of those vacation days and I created WP career pages to try to help people find jobs. Every Wednesday I tweet out, 10 jobs,
yeah,
10 listing or 10 companies that are hiring, I should say. And now
mm,
I've outsourced the collection of that. So I'm actually paying somebody in the Philippines to help me create that. And
mm,
so I've created a little bit of a job, right? It's not paying anybody anywhere near a full-time salary, but I'm paying an hourly rate to get those kinds of things and be able to publish them on Wednesdays because
mm,
there are weeks when I did not have the bandwidth to do it myself. But now when somebody else creates it, I will take 20 minutes and put it all out there, right? Kind of thing, or 10 minutes. And so those kinds of things I think are the ways that we can help other people. WP career pages, also WP speakers. WP speakers is just I needed it was purely selfish. I just needed to find people to speak at my own meetup. And so I created a tool that helped me and therefore helps everybody else in WordPress too. You need a WordPress speaker? Go to WP career pages, search a topic, search a location, all of those kinds of things, and you will find people who can speak on those subjects. And so it's made it a little bit easier to
mm.
invite people to podcasts, invite people to stages, look for people who can speak at your events, all those kinds of things.
It's just honestly don't know how you do it. I reckon you got a cloning facility somewhere. The camera will pan round, and it's just be lots of vats filled with like number one, two, three, four, five, six, and seven, and each one's got the website they look after on it. That would be creepy, and it would
Yeah, that
explain a
would.
lot. It would explain where you get so much done.
They're all thinner than me too. They have more energy.
Shut up! Don't say that. What What I was going to ask you actually, because you spend a lot of time at WordPress events and that sort of stuff, and if anybody doesn't know, Michelle does this thing where she goes around and you can take a selfie. How did that come about? What was the logic behind that?
Okay, so you know how they say work smarter, not harder?
Mm,
I love taking pictures of people, but I don't always remember to take pictures of people. So the selfie challenge started out with just letting other people take pictures with me and having them put the pictures out in the world. Um, and then I
mm,
just go and collect them all at the end and make a little video or whatever out of them. But also, I mean, I didn't think about it at the time because I just do things because they're fun. But it
mm,
also helped boost my own following on social media.
mm,
People got involved. And so I didn't want it to just be this like selfish thing of, take a picture with me and I get to have that picture. But I committed to give it like using $500 of my own money to help sponsor somebody else, either a speaker or an organizer who's an underrepresented person
mm,
to a WordCamp. And so I did that at WordCamp Asia last year. It was the first time I did it in 2023. And some other people said, "Hey, I want to give some money to that too." Somebody matched it. Another person gave me $250. So at the end of the day, we had $1,250 to help somebody else get to a WordCamp.
Wow.
And then I went to the next WordCamp and people are like, I want to donate too. And I'd have to look it up, but all told, I think we ended up with in the first year we raised $4,250. And I was able to get, I think it was, I'm trying to look at my numbers really fast here. 13 different people were sponsored to five, six, seven, 10 different word camps all
Wow.
over the world. And just because I said, hey, come take a picture with me. And I'll tell you what, like people want to take pictures with people that they know and they follow anyway. So it's just it does a couple of things, right? So the first thing is it does raise money and it helps people get to WordCamp, which is to me just phenomenal because I want to be able to help other people get to WordCamps. Um, it does accomplish the I don't have to take the pictures. People can take the pictures. I don't care what I look like in photos. Like I don't care if my one eye is half closed or my hair is crazy. Other people care what they look like in photos. So
Yeah.
they're only going to post photos they're happy with, which makes me happy, right? So it's not like, oh, you posted that one. No, I don't do that to anybody else. They can post what they want. Um, so it did help grow my following a little bit, which was just a byproduct because I literally didn't think about that. I just wanted to do something fun. But also, it's just another way that people who are shy and maybe
Mm.
are afraid to approach people. I think I'm a fairly open person, but I also know what it feels like to be introverted in certain situations and to feel like you can't approach somebody who is maybe a well-known name in WordPress.
Sure.
This gives people permission because I've asked you to do it, right?
Mm.
So if you are somebody who might not want to approach me, now I've given you a reason to be able to come say hi and opened that door. And so I've made a lot more friends that way, and people have connected with me across different platforms, and developed friendships because we started with a selfie. I mean, how awesome is that,
Yeah,
really?
it's actually quite a clever way of doing things, and it does, like you say. I mean, some people are really really shy, and they don't know how to approach somebody. So, like you
Yeah,
say, by doing that, you're putting them at ease. It's probably actually making their day a little bit easier as well because it gives them
I hope so.
confidence then to speak to other people and then shake a few hands and say hello and that sort of stuff. So I
Yeah.
think that's a really cool thing to do.
One of my favorite things is I had somebody come up to me, and if he's listening, I'm so sorry, I'm not remembering your name at the particular point in time. Came up to me and said that he had taken a selfie with me the year before, and he had told his daughter about me. And this is somebody I want to say in India. And so at this WordCamp this year in Asia, he came up to me and he said, I have my daughter on FaceTime. She would like to say hello to you.
Oh
And so I
wow.
was able to talk to this, I think she was 9-year-old girl
Hmm.
who knew me and who I was and the work that I do in WordPress and felt that I was somebody she could aspire to because she saw somebody like me
Hmm.
working in tech and working in WordPress, she knew that she could do it too. And oh my gosh, like the tears, I was just like, yes, honey, you can do it, kind of thing. Like I was just so touched. And I can't tell you, like the fact that he shared that information with me, I was just so moved and so touched. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like bragging. I'm not bragging. I
No.
just 100% was just yeah, just so moved that he saw in me something to share with his daughter who then wanted to meet me virtually, even over the phone. And so those kinds of things, it makes it all worthwhile. I mean,
Yeah.
there are people who don't like me. 100%. There's people who don't like everybody, right? Like no matter who you are, somebody in the world is not going to like you.
Hmm.
I don't care. Those people are not the people I need to worry about, right? And there are people who could take or leave, whatever. No big deal. And then there are people who just really want to get to know you as a person. There are people who definitely want to try to trade on any fame or whatever that I have in the WordPress community. And can you shout this out for me? And can you do this? And my DMs are always insane with people wanting me to pay them to do XYZ or hire them. And there's a lot of that too. And
Hmm.
all of it comes as the package of who you are in a community and what you do. Um, but the fact that I am able to help some people and that I can do things that open doors for other people, I think
Hmm.
is for me at the top and the utmost thing.
Yeah, I follow the same sort of attitude really as yourself. Like, there's been a few times on Twitter on DMs that I've sort of helped say, look,
Yeah,
well, I know this guy. You should probably speak to. Do you want me to do an intro? And it's not. Uh, I think one person said, "How much is going to cost?" Oh, it's not going to cost anything. Why is it going to
exactly.
cost? I'm just going to put his app name here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
Oh, well, all right, then it's 10 grand. Does that make you feel better? No, not really. You feel, you do it because you want to help. You want to
Yeah.
help somebody out. You want to help them.
Usually I say to somebody, buy me a coffee at, like, if they really are worried about, I'm like, well, just buy me a coffee at the next event.
Yeah, I do think people. I do think some people. I mean, I struggle to accept money sometimes. From I genuinely do because I think I'm not worth it. Why are you doing that for? But then you've got to have a little bit of self belief about you, because you do stuff that could sometimes help people. And like the directory I'm working on and stuff like that. I've got over 100 products on there now, and it's I'm not shilling it or anything like that, but there's quite a few people that believe in you, and
Hmm.
sometimes you need to hear it sometimes, or you need to see it. And I think when I spoke to Corey last week, a kind word goes an awful long way, and it can
Sure
really
does.
really make somebody's day better. And
Absolutely.
I think that's just even if it's just a good job. I see what you did there. Nice
Hmm.
one. And just that sort of stuff. Because it's incredibly lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
And as you said before, just reaching out to friends and just having a chat, I think from a mental health perspective is key, because it'll keep you level, keep you grounded, keep you sane, which I think is
Hmm.
the most important thing. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Well, I think I didn't want to ask you this.
Okay, but ask anyway.
I'm going to ask anyway.
Okay.
And if it'll either be in a video or it won't be, because it's my video. I can do what I
This is
want.
true.
um, I know we've talked about this, and I've got to pull my finger out and build it. But we've me and Michelle have talked about her coming on board, not not working at LayerWP, but actually writing reviews. And I think actually, based on the conversation that we've just had today, I think you'd be more than ideally suited to be able to do a review
Sure.
of a product, because if there's one thing I've known, how long have I known you now?
Gosh, 3, 4 years at least, right?
I think it was about 2019, wasn't it?
Okay, so 5 years.
Was it?
Yeah,
Oh
I
God, you
think
know
it
what?
might have been. I'd have to go back and look.
Anyway, I think yeah, it was a long time ago now. I just think that you'd be a brilliant reviewer. You just do one whenever you can, and
Mhm.
I think that would be amazing. I am traded on your fame. I don't care. At least I'm honest about it.
Well,
I
I'll
could, I
tell you
could
one of
just
my
lie.
favorite things is to give my opinion, right? So, like, everybody loves to give their opinion. I love to give my opinion, especially if it helps a product, right? So, like, it's great when a product is 100% and and you can be like, "Yep, I endorse this. There's nothing wrong with it."
Mm,
There's very seldom a product that couldn't use a boost here or there. Like you said, have you thought about adding this? This
mm,
didn't work as well. This slowed it
mm.
down. This, right? So, like, nothing is perfect. And so if you try a product and you can say, I love this product, these are the few things that I think could use some work. These are the things that work really well. Overall, I'd give it a 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 or three, whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? And if they address these little issues, that number would move up significantly. And then go back if they do and revise the review, that kind of thing. I think that that would be great. I think so many people gets paid to say good things about products
Yeah.
that it's hard to trust, right? It's really hard to trust what you're reading about something.
Mm,
And I would never want to be somebody who's just giving lip service about anything. Like, I won't write about things that I don't want to write about. I
mm,
won't write about things that don't make sense for me to have a part in or speak about or any of those things. And so I would love to be able to give honest feedback
mm.
with kindness. I would never blast anybody.
Oh
I
yeah.
always do everything with kindness, and hope that it would be received the same way and open up
Mm.
conversations about ways that we can all do better.
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, again, we're very similar, because I can't sit there and write overwhelmingly positive stuff about a
Yeah.
product. You've got to be honest, because I've fallen down the route many years ago where I went off blindly when I first started out, which is about 2012, believe it or not, just tinkering around with it. And I must have shelled out thousands over the years based on products that were, for want of a better word, shilled.
Mm.
Um, you know, they were paid for listings. the old list posts where you come up higher and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I really got shortchanged. And I always said to me, I always in my mind, I thought, if I'm going to do this, I want to do this properly, and it needs to be 100% truthful, because if you get, there's no
Yeah.
trust there. If somebody goes off and buys a product based on your say so, and that product is crap, you're never going to get that person back. And that
True.
person speaks to somebody else. I always say with products, and you'll see it, I've actually mentioned it on a post I wrote years ago. You wouldn't recommend a restaurant to somebody if you've never eaten there.
Exactly.
And that is basically what a lot of WordPress posts are like. They actually haven't
Mhm.
used the product.
Right.
Just reading
Right.
documentation and spinning it. I mean, it's crazy. I'm not going to name
Yeah.
names, but because it's
No, of course not. But yeah.
uh, but yeah, I don't like that mentality
Yeah.
way of doing
No,
things.
and you can often tell if somebody hasn't actually used the product when they write. I mean, and especially with AI and how people are leaning into it too much,
Mm,
it becomes very obvious to me when something has been written um without good research, as in using the product and figuring out what you like or don't like about it.
mm.
And also when you've leaned too heavy into letting AI write that for you, it's just a bullshit post at that point in time, right?
Yeah,
You should give it no credence
no,
at that point in time. And you need to trust the people whose reviews you're reading.
mm,
Absolutely.
yeah. So if this bit's still kept in the video, uh,
It
this
should be. Of
yeah,
course.
okay. Well, we'll keep it in then because you said so,
Okay.
and I don't want to get
Of
in
course.
trouble.
No,
Right.
not at all.
Okay, I think we're getting to the end, really.
Okay.
I didn't want to keep you too long, and the reason for that is I can talk too much sometimes, and I think the
Me
intention,
too.
I think people's attention spans are going to be like, oh, there's another 20 minutes of this. Oh. But
Enough, enough. All right, if you made it this far, you know that you can play YouTube at 1.5 times the speed, right? Like that's how I listen to everything on YouTube is at 1.5 times the speed. So speed me
okay,
up. It's
yeah.
all good.
So then we can do this, and then it'll just be a blur.
We should have done that at the beginning. Like,
Should have
this
done
is
that.
going to be a long one. Listen at 1.5 times the speed.
Yeah, but then talk really slowly like this, so it goes normal.
Or talk really fast and then you sound like chipmunks.
Yeah.
Anyway, well,
Anyway,
now it's just this conversation's degrading
yeah,
quickly.
yeah, it's gone downhill pretty sharpish. Never mind. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, Michelle.
Oh, it's
It's
my
always a
pleasure. Thank you
pleasure.
for the invitation.
And no, thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for coming on.
Yeah.
And like I said, we'll put some links and that sort of stuff down the bottom of the video. And thank you so much for your time.
You know, you do need to leave this part in though, where I say that like you start this whole podcast and everything, and then I message you. I'm like, "What's a girl got to do to get an invite?"
Well, yeah, this is true. This is true. I don't. Oh my god.
I'm like, "You were on my podcast,
Yeah,
dude.
I
Like,
know.
where's my invitation?"
Do you know what? I've got a memory like a sieve. I really have. It's actually astonishingly bad, and I think that's senior moment as well, so to speak.
Well, it's
But yeah.
also it's this is also good advice to anybody who wants to be on a podcast. Don't sit around waiting for your invitation because
Mm.
podcasters are incredibly busy and they don't want to impose on people. Like I invite people all the time, but if you want to be on a podcast, ask. The worst thing that could happen is somebody say, "I don't think this is right for this show."
Yeah,
Right? But
yeah.
ask because you just never know where your next, podcast guesting will be.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, hopefully. I don't know. Actually, I don't know who I'd want on next. I'd have to have a think. Hmm.
Oh, I have some people I'll recommend to you afterwards.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll gladly accept the recommendations as a fledgling startup podcaster. Oh, incidentally, this is going to be available on YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music as well. So, and I'll put links in there for that as well.
Wait, will my voice do the intro and the outro to my own
Yes, yes.
guesting? Oh, I
Which
love
is
it.
which is the other thing I wanted to mention is if I should put this at the beginning. If Michelle sounds familiar, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh, too fun.
Okay, right. Well, that's it. Thank you for your time.
My
And
pleasure.
I'm just going to stop recording in 5, 4, 3, 2. Where's the stop? Oh, there you go.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the LayerWP podcast. To be on the show or support us through sponsorship, visit layerwp.com.